Hello, and welcome to Ben and Matt Watch Game of Thrones.
Brought to you by the Sci-Fi Christian of sci-fi-christian-podcast.com. Matt, this week we are taking a look at episode 5, I believe,
Five.
The Wolf and the Lion.
The wolf and the lion, those are the symbols for the sigils for House Lannister and House Stark.
And which one goes with which?
Wolf, Stark, Lion, Lannister.
You got it! You're catching on to this whole Game of Thrones thing, Matt. We had a much more scaled down episode than the last several weeks.
What do you mean scaled down?
Well, we didn't see anything of Daenerys tonight.
Oh, you're right.
We didn't see anything with Jon on the Wall.
You're right.
So, where the last couple weeks were super dense, tons of plot, this week we got, there's a lot of developments, but we had a much more character-centric episode. Really got to slow things down a bit, get involved with some of the more characters. I really like that approach. I thought it was a good week for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, actually when it ended, even though it is kind of a long show, in general, I felt like, this is the end already? It was it was a pretty good episode.
I'd sit down and watch the next 5 hours, which will make up the rest of the season.
Interesting.
Right in a row right now.
Yeah. So where do you want to begin this week?
Well, most of the action was in King's Landing, but we also saw a couple scenes in Winterfell and a couple scenes in the area with Tyrion and Catelyn. So how about we start in Winterfell, because that was the shortest one.
All right, let's do it.
So we saw a couple things here. First, we saw Bran, in kind of a clever move by the series creators, going over the map, going over the different houses and the slogans. Names. Exactly.
Yeah.
The house words.
The house words. And so then they kind of revealed the symbols right there during that scene.
House Greyjoy has a kraken.
Oh, I didn't notice
Release the kraken!
And they were talking about Greyjoy while the guy was doing archery stuff.
They were. So, we found out a bit more about what's going on with Theon Greyjoy this week. Where are you going?
Give me that book.
Okay. We found out a bit more about Theon Greyjoy, that his father had rebelled several years ago, and he seems to still think that his father may have had a point in his rebellion.
Interesting. And he seems this week a little bit bitter, you could say?
Yeah, we saw him getting up to some special adult time, and was not very nice to his companion.
He was not. She said something that offended him, and he got all grabbed her head and
yeah.
Moving
on to the Eyrie.
The Eyrie, which is also called the Vale.
The Vale of Arryn.
What do they call? Oh, Arryn.
Yeah.
Is the whole place named after Arryn?
Yes.
Eyrie. Interesting.
So first we started out, before we actually got there, we started out on the road with a couple interesting developments, where we saw Tyrion first protesting that he is innocent.
He is. He was saying he doesn't know why they have him. He didn't try to murder the son. Come on.
Do you believe him?
Yeah, I like him.
So you think Tyrion's innocent?
I'm going to go on the record and say Tyrion is innocent.
Okay.
Because he says, what kind of fool would use his own, or give his own dagger to the assassin?
That is a pretty convincing point.
It is.
So for example, you are holding my dagger right here, Matt.
That's right.
If I was going to send someone to kill you, I would choose a different dagger besides this one to do it with.
Correct, because everybody now knows this belongs to Ben DeBono.
Yeah, so I will not go on the record with this, obviously, since I know from the books.
Mm-hmm.
But that would seem to be an interesting case that he's presenting.
Yes.
And then we see they are attacked.
By the Shadowcats?
Well, just by different mountain clans. Shadowcats are a clan within these different mountain tribes.
But those were not the Shadowcats?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Somebody will tell us in the comments.
Alright, well, yes. And Tyrion, speaking of him, has an awesome kill with the shield. He's like, takes the shield. Yeah, just like over and over.
Well, it's his first kill. Did you catch that?
Ever?
Yeah.
No, how do you know that?
Because that's what he and Bronn were talking about after he killed.
He said, I've never killed before?
Bronn asked him, was that your first kill? And he nodded, yes.
When did that happen?
In the episode we just watched. Where were you?
I didn't catch that at all.
Apparently you were sleeping during that part.
Alright.
This just shows you how close attention Matt is paying to Game of Thrones.
I don't know. Alright, well anyways.
So
it was good.
And then we had that whole, there's a whole exchange where Bronn said you need a woman after your first kill, and then
I thought you just said after a kill.
No, after your first kill. Well, after a kill.
I'm willing if she is.
I'm willing if she is, referring to Catelyn Stark, which is just a brilliant example of how Tyrion is amazing.
Yeah.
And then we actually got to the Eyrie, and that's when things got weird.
This was messed up. So Catelyn's sister,
Lysa Arryn.
so she's crazy. That's what we were told, right? She is very crazy.
She is nuts.
And this is Jon Arryn's wife.
And his son.
And now we know why Jon Arryn spent all of his time at King's Landing and left her at home.
Well, she was there.
Really? I mean,
After his death, she left King's Landing.
how is she not locked away?
I have no idea. But remember, Jon wanted to go foster his son with the Lannisters, and I think we just found out why. Because that boy needs to get away from his mama.
He does. I don't even think we should say any more about it other than
It was gross.
it was messed up.
It was really gross.
So, they put Tyrion in their dungeon, which is one of the coolest prisons I've
Sky
ever
cell.
seen. A sky cell?
Yeah.
This is awesome. But when they first put him down there, they said, introduce him to...
Mord, the jailer.
Oh, I thought Mord was going to be one of the, prisoners?
No.
Who was going to be really mean?
Mord was the jailer guy who we saw locking him in there.
Okay.
So, in the Sky Cell, what we have is, it looks like a normal dungeon for 3 of the 4 walls. But that 4th wall is the important one because it's not there, and instead there's a very steep drop off a cliff.
It's basically in the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, messed up.
Very
Scary.
messed up. Not
Especially
where
for
you
our
would
little
be.
guy.
Yeah. So the general idea of the Sky Cells is that we want to save some time by not having so many trials, so we're hoping that the prisoner will just jump.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But not where you want to be kept.
Yeah.
So Tyrion, again, though, in this scene with Lysa where he's kind of having his trial thing, she actually accuses him then of killing Jon Arryn as
Yes.
well.
And then he...
I've sure been a busy man lately.
Yeah.
In typical Tyrion wit.
Yeah, he's good.
So he's being accused of all sorts of stuff, and there's a little bit of tension going on between Catelyn and her sister.
Well, she's crazy.
She's crazy, and apparently crazier than Catelyn seemed to remember.
Yeah. So Tyrion's still my favorite character.
Yes. So, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Because way back in episode 1, Ned and Catelyn get this letter talking about how Jon Arryn's been murdered and they need to go and investigate this. That letter came from Lysa.
I know, that's what I was thinking about. So she does not seem like a reliable source, I'm just
So,
saying.
does this maybe change your opinion of what's going on there at all?
They should have known that she was nuts, though, before I even gave the letter.
Well, no, because I haven't seen her for years.
So they moved on her speculation, and I don't know, she does not seem very reliable to me.
Well, the idea is that she wasn't always this nuts.
Okay.
And then in the last several years has become more so.
Well, yeah, it does kind of change my perception, I guess.
But doesn't change Ned's perception because down in King's Landing he is busy continuing to investigate Jon Arryn's murder. And specifically asking what was Jon Arryn looking into before he was killed.
And it seems like Jon Arryn's investigating the many children of the king.
He was indeed.
So,
We found another child.
another child that belongs to the king. This one in
Robert has been busy.
a baby form.
Baby form. He has to morph out of the baby stage.
Yeah, so I don't know. So we watched this episode together, and you were trying to ask me, "Are you putting together the clues yet?"
Yeah, but we won't go into that because we don't want to give spoilers.
No
away.
spoilers. But you're saying there's clues that I'm apparently not picking up on.
Yep, and about that we will say no more. Just pay attention to those scenes. You will regret it if you don't.
Okay, sounds
Well,
good.
probably not because you'll find out the answer anyway, eventually. But
So still in King's Landing, a lot of other things were happening.
we met a new character, Loras Tyrell, who had a couple interesting encounters of
Wait, who?
Loras Tyrell, the Knight of Flowers.
The Knight of the Roses, isn't it?
Nope.
I wrote it down.
Well,
Knight
you wrote-
of the Rose.
Well, you wrote it down
They
wrong.
said it once.
Knight of Flowers.
Knight of the Rose.
Nope,
Okay.
that is incorrect.
And he took down the mountain.
He did, and the mountain proceeded to chop his horse's head off.
What kind of sound did I make?
Oh! We
Because-
could do a series of videos just called Matt Watches Incredibly Violent Scenes, and they would be incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, because that was, they showed a horse getting his head chopped off.
They did.
That was messed up.
And then the Hound comes and takes on his brother, and...
No. Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
the mountain's gonna then kill the Knight of the Rose,
Nope.
and
He's gonna kill the Knight of Flowers.
the Hound comes face to face, and everybody's just letting them fight, and then finally the king says, "Stop this madness!" And immediately, in a second, Hound goes down to his knee to stop,
Yep.
And Mountain is like, words of anger.
Yes, and then Loras Tyrell concedes the rest of the jousting tournament to the Hound, and the Hound is declared the victor.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yes.
Interesting.
So we had a pretty gross
I thought he was
encounter.
just saying, thank you for saving my life. Thank you for...
Yeah,
No.
more explicit in the novel.
Okay.
So pretty gross encounter with the horse's head getting cut off, but it was not as gross as what happened during Loras' other encounter in this episode
Correct.
with Renly Baratheon, where
Renly Baratheon, who... Renly?
Renly,
who is the king's, not next brother-in-law, but his next brother.
Yes.
So related to Robert.
and he was shaving off his chest hair.
Yes, and you had mentioned while watching this that of all of the graphic scenes we've seen, nothing grossed you out more than seeing this guy's chest hair, his nipple hairs getting shaved off.
Specifically the shot of the nipple hair getting shaved, I nearly lost it.
So that was gross.
Matt nearly threw up at the horse's head. This was the rough moment for me. Blood and guts spilling everywhere, I'm cool. Nipple hair getting shaved off,
Not okay.
so much.
And only to be followed up by another gross scene, which we won't mention.
Yeah, they like each other.
They do.
It was interesting.
But Littlefinger actually
Well, one more thing on this.
implied this
He
relationship.
did. And this is what's kind of interesting to me because, now somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you actually find out about Loras and Renly until in the second or third book in the series.
Really?
So we're finding out about their activities much sooner than you do in the books, I believe.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's kind of implied along the way, but it doesn't get spelled out till much later.
Oh, I wrote a note about this.
Okay.
Now, this is just my speculation. As everybody knows, I haven't read the books, you have. So don't have to respond to this, but let me just say this. I'm predicting that the Knight of the Rose, the Knight of the Flowers, Tyrell, is that his name? Like Chief Tyrell?
Nope.
What's his name?
Loras Tyrell.
Tyrell is a spy. Yep, that's right. And that, in fact, he's getting inside information from the king's brother, Renly. Yep, so even though they have relations, he also is gathering information. Because think of all of the good information you get, you know, this guy trusts him, he's saying, here's what's happening behind the scenes. So, pretty good prediction, huh?
Go for it.
And he kind of has flowy hair, like the Lannisters. Maybe he's with the Lannisters.
No, he's not. He's with House Tyrell, man.
Oh, they have a whole house?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Otherwise, his last name would be Lannister.
Can't you just be friends with the Lannisters if you don't have the same last
You could
name?
be friends with him, but he's not part of House Lannister.
Okay, so what's House Tyrell's symbol?
It's a flower. Hence why he's the Knight of Flowers.
Knight of the Rose. Interesting. Go back and listen
you
to
gotta
it.
quit calling him that.
Go back and listen. It says Knight of the
No,
Rose.
it doesn't. He handed Sansa a rose.
Yes, right before that. Okay, mark my words. It was said once, at least.
It was not.
Okay, let's move on.
So, a few more interesting scenes. We saw this cool showdown between Varys and Littlefinger where neither one of them actually comes out and says, I'm trying to take you down, but both of them mean it.
That was awesome, but you're jumping way ahead, because we saw that. But 2 scenes before, bald guy, Varys, was talking to Ned and warned him that you might be in danger, is that right?
Yeah.
And then, in the next scene, we have to talk about this, in the Dragon Dungeon room.
Oh,
The skull room that
so Arya is down chasing cats.
Yep, and we heard about this room last week with the skulls of the dragons getting bigger as you get closer to the throne, right?
Right.
Okay, you can take it from here.
So then we see Arya spying on 2 people having a conversation, and I will not say who the 2 people were, but
Why?
if you slow it down,
You don't
because
say?
they don't say it in the book,
Alright.
but if you slow it down, I think you can be able to tell the faces of the 2 if you hit the pause button at the right moment.
I would never have known if he hadn't told me.
Yeah, so I will not say here because it was not explicit in the scene.
Okay.
However, what we do find out is that they say that they're both plotting for the Targaryens.
Yes, they know that Khal Drogo is he's not pregnant, that Dany is pregnant with Khal Drogo's son.
Yeah.
So they even know that's a son, so they obviously have some inside information. And did we find out in this scene where they're getting the information from?
Nope, that was in the King's Council.
Okay, so then let's just move on to that.
Well, they also said something about how if one hand can die, so can another.
We have to tell that one of the characters was Bald Guy because it's obvious. He's in
Okay.
like 3 consecutive scenes.
Okay.
So Bald Guy, who I think
Varys.
is called the Spider,
Varys.
he in the next scene he's talking to Littlefinger.
Yeah.
You want to say something about this?
Well, it's just a great scene with these two characters who are both very shifty. Neither one really ever comes out and says directly what they mean.
Yeah.
And they are both being very pleasant about threatening one another the entire scene.
I like how they say, I saw you with blah, 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 when really they mean my spies saw you. So they have eyes everywhere.
It was a great scene. And then we get this great conversation at the King's Council.
Yes, with everybody there. So everybody that we've been learning about so far in this episode.
Do you know who's on the King's Council, Matt?
No, I think I do know.
Okay, let's hear it.
Bald guy the spider.
And his name is?
Viserys.
Varys.
Then we have Renly, the brother. We have the king, the hand, which is Ned. Okay, then we have the maestro.
Grand Maester Pycelle.
Yeah, right, he's there. And I think there's one more, right?
Yep.
Okay, there's one more.
Come on, it's the obvious one.
Is it obvious? I said Littlefinger, didn't I?
No, you did not.
And then Littlefinger.
Okay.
So I got them all.
You got them all.
I'm doing pretty good.
High five.
I'm learning about this show.
You are. So, Robert has found out that Daenerys is pregnant. And how have they found out, Matt?
From the translator.
And since he's not really a translator, and that's just what you call him.
Mon. That's his name, right? Mon?
Nope.
What's his name?
Jorah Mormont.
Mormont.
Who is the knight, not the translator,
Okay.
sworn to Daenerys, who's been hanging out with the Khalasar.
Yes, I just remembered something. Okay, so this is bad because remember we talked about in previous videos that Mormont that he might be like he snuck away really quickly when he found out she was pregnant. Now maybe we know where he was going to.
Oh, you're pregnant?
I'll be right back. But Ned does not trust him and calls him a traitor. In fact,
He does. And it's because he's in exile, so Ned's very honorable, and Robert is now adamant he is going to kill Daenerys, and Ned says, no, you are not.
yeah, because he wants to kill not just Dany but the unborn baby. And Ned says, this is not respectable. This is not full of honor. I followed you into 2 battles.
Do you know which 2 wars those are?
Well, one against the Mad King.
Yep.
And one when they were really young.
No.
One against the Targaryens.
No, that's the Mad King.
One against
the Greyjoy Rebellion.
The Greyjoys.
Yes.
Yes.
So important to keep both of those events in your mind historically during this series.
All right, and so he says, I will not follow you, though, into this battle.
Yes.
And then he says, you're my hand, you have to do what I say. And so what does he do?
He resigns.
Takes off his badge, just like they do on the cop shows. I'm training my badge, I'm training my gun.
Not quite.
Basically. That's exactly what it was like.
It was not like that at all.
Except for he training his gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
But nice analogy. So, Robert is obviously very angry and accuses him of treason, and Ned is preparing to leave King's Landing when that's when we have the scene about him finding Robert's other child.
And who's the one that asked him to come in, and who's helping him find this other child?
Littlefinger.
Littlefinger, who you've been kind of hinting that maybe I shouldn't trust. It seemed to me that maybe Littlefinger was actually setting him up to be ambushed.
I don't know. Because at the last scene, we see Jaime Lannister finally show up in this episode.
With a group of knight soldier people.
Yeah. Soldier people.
Yeah.
And those soldier people take on first Ned's soldiers.
Yes, they destroy them.
And Jaime puts a dagger through Jory Cassell's eye.
And this guy, Jorah Cassell, seemed nice, and I think him and Ned were friends.
Yeah, we saw a lot of him in the last episode.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty brutal. And then, best part of the episode, we had Jaime versus Ned.
And I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought, all right, they're just going to arrest him. But then when they started fighting, I was like, yes. I think I might have said that. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a great battle. I actually, because I don't know what's going to happen in the books, I thought for a second that Jaime might be killed.
Really?
I even thought maybe Ned could be killed.
Maybe.
I guess probably not Ned, but I was going back and forth. And then when he got stabbed, I was like, where did he just get stabbed? I didn't realize right away that it was in the leg.
Yeah. And then Jaime kills the guy who stabbed Ned, because apparently he wanted to do it himself, gets on his horse and rides away. And all of this, by the way, we forgot to mention, is because Jaime found out that Catelyn had Tyrion, and so he's very angry. Tensions between House Stark and Lannister are at their highest point.
Thus, wolf versus lion.
That was not the title of the episode. The Wolf and the Lion was the title of the episode.
I was just thinking, when Jaime rode off, was he basically implying, okay, I'm not going to arrest you, but just get my brother back?
Yeah.
So Ned is not arrested right now.
Ned is not arrested. He is injured quite badly.
Yes, he has a spear through the leg.
And things are not going well between House Stark and House Lannister.
And is the king still going to say you're committing treason?
You'll have to tune in next week to find out.
Oh my gosh. You talk for a minute while I look over my notes and see if there's anything else I want to add.
Okay. Great episode, I thought. In some ways, probably the strongest episode, just because it was able to slow things down a little bit. That obviously brought out a lot more character strength. We had a lot more character development. I definitely miss seeing Jon and Daenerys.
Yep.
But overall, might be my favorite episode so far. I've been looking forward to seeing Tyrion get to the Eyrie for a while, so good stuff happening there.
Here's some notes I have really quick.
Okay.
Some quick notes. I like how they keep saying, oh my gods, because it reminds me of Battlestar Galactica.
It does.
They have a lot of polytheistic thinking happening. We didn't talk about how Bald Guy the Spider said that Jon Arryn was poisoned, and he specified what kind of poison it was.
And he said that somebody might be planning to do the same thing to Robert.
And they suspected that perhaps it was the squire who turned into a knight last week.
Sir Hugh.
That might have been the poisoner.
Yes, who's now dead.
But he got money to buy a new
suit of armor.
And he was upgraded to knight, so might have been somebody paying. It might have been a payoff. What do you think?
Interesting theory.
King Robert actually mentioned Dany and Viserys. What's that? Viserys. And said that they should have killed them long ago. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. And, we had this great scene between King Robert and Queen Cersei. And they seem to be in good spirits towards each other, and yet we find out in the scene that they actually hate each other.
It was
a loveless marriage, to say the least.
A very cordial hate fest.
Yeah. And it looks like I sense a little bit of feelings from her, but not strong, because obviously we know she's into Jaime.
Mm-hmm.
But
gotta have that sister and brother action.
Yep. So, what did you think about that scene? Is there anything you want to add to that you, from the book?
Just good to see. It was kind of cool to see Robert as he was strategically planning for battle in that scene. And I think you saw the first hint that this guy isn't just a complete buffoon. He does have some leadership skills. Mm-hmm. Not in politically ruling, but when it comes to battle and strategy and all of that, this guy's not an idiot. And good scene that way.
Yeah, and the Queen was kind of encouraging to him. I think that he does see her as sort of another advisor in a way. Would you say that's true?
No.
Because he seemed to be going to her for advice.
Well, it was a good scene, but I wouldn't take it that far.
All right, let's not take it that far. Well, that's all I've got, Ben.
What are your thoughts on the episode, just in terms of quality?
Great episode.
Yeah, one of the cool things I thought they did, we mentioned how a couple characters weren't in it, but did you notice that in the previously on Game of Thrones, they showed scenes of Jon, they showed scenes of Daenerys, just to kind of remind you of what was going on there?
Yeah.
I thought that was helpful, because otherwise an entire week goes on by and you don't see any of these characters.
Yeah, because usually you expect if they're going to be in the previously on scene, that they're going to be in this episode, and they were not.
But I thought it was a nice touch to throw them in there anyway.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe it was confusing to some people. I liked it.
Good. And you pointed out to me today that the opening sequence shows where we're going to...
Yeah, we talked about that.
Did we talk about that here before?
We did.
Okay.
Well, but it's all good. I'm glad you were paying attention.
Yeah, good. Well, that's all from here.
Great episode. Great. Back next week with more.
I'm Matt Anderson.
I'm Ben DeBono, and you can always check us out on sci-fi christian podcast.com.
And we're the Sci-Fi Christians, signing off.